Welcome to Mason and Fricker's Eldritch Stories. My name is Paul Fricker. Our tale today is set on a suburban street. Strange things go on behind closed doors, things that no one sees, not even the eye. The eye looked out on the street. The street had seen better times, when front lawns were better kept and people took more pride. But that was long before the eye had been installed. Now the eye looked upon unkempt fronts, strewn with weeds and detritus, and discarded children's toys. Overfilled wheelie bins of rip-torn refuge bags vomited their myriad contents onto the street and into the gutters, while dirty windows and sun-faded curtains hid the homes within. The eye's view took in the front porch, where it was screwed to a peeling white wall. Its owner took no more care of its habitat than did the others on the street, but did at least tend to the burgeoning potted plants that clustered either side of the path that led to the door. Beyond it could see the road and the houses opposite. Its fixed sight, monitoring and ever watching. It never really slept, maintaining a sort of half-sight, always sensing and waiting for movement to stir it into life. The road was still, apart from the early morning hustle of the few who left their homes to make their weary way to weary jobs. Each day, quiet hours would pass before those same workers returned. The sun began to set, and darkness consumed the street. The boredom was occasionally interrupted by a passing car or the arrival of the mail, but these were commonplace things that passed every day, monitored, recorded, and forgotten. The incursion of the spider that dwelled within the peeling white woodwork on which the eye lived were a nightly highlight. Each night the spider's movements woke the eye, provoking a high-pitched squeal which would wake the man inside. The eye chuckled to itself as it listened to the loud curses from within the house. The eye enjoyed watching the spider, its lens magnifying the tiny creature to gigantic proportions. It imagined the monstrous spider stalking through the street and tearing into the houses, devouring those inside as it went. A fantasy, of course, but the eye had an active imagination, somewhat unique for its kind. Earlier in the day, the eye had been awakened by a white van pulling up in front of its house. Roused to life, it recorded as a woman got out. She pulled a large cardboard box from within the van, paused to check the label, and then sauntered toward the house, toward the eye. The box was set down in front of the door. Then a pudgy finger was raised and thrust at the eye, pressing hard on the button beneath it. The woman did not wait for a response. She turned swiftly and departed, back into the van. The eye's squeal rang out, but the man inside didn't stir from his special work, and the box remained on the porch. The man inside was a curious one. The eye often wondered about the man's special work. It was unable to see within, its gaze fixed frontward. But sometimes it would hear sounds from within, unusual sounds that were unlike those commonly heard in the street. If it could have smelled, it would probably have blanched. If it could have known what the smell signified, and if it had the capacity, it would have been as sickened and repulsed as the last visitor to the house. That time the eye had watched as the stranger burst from the house, fell to its knees and vomited on the porch. It watched impassively as the hands of the man reached out from within and dragged the stranger back inside. While it could see no more, it heard the screaming that turned quickly to silence. In the evening twilight, movement woke the eye. It expected to see the spider returning to remake its web, but no. There was something at the edge of its view, a furtive movement, almost imperceivable, yet enough to stir the eye. A new visitor had appeared, creeping not from the road, but from the side of the house. The stranger came closer, more visible to the eye, dressed in grimy jeans and a dark top. The visitor's face was masked in darkness beneath a greasy cap, over which a hood had been pulled tight. For a moment, the eye found itself looking into the stranger's eyes. Within the house, the squealing alarm sounded. The stranger paused, hesitating, turning its gaze downward from the eye to the brown box parcel that still sat on the porch. Edging sideward, the stranger bent down and reached for the box. The spindly fingers wrapped around the package. The motion reminded the eye of the spider. The stranger began to raise the box but faltered, seemingly caught off balance by the unexpected weight. The stranger held on tighter and lifted, curling its arms and clutching its prize to its chest. The eye registered a new thing. It had thought the man inside would ignore the squealing alarm, as he usually did. A form came from behind the eye, rushing silently toward the stranger. The eye watched as large hands grabbed the stranger, pulling him down. It heard a squeal, unlike its own, as the man from inside produced a long, sharp blade and pushed it repeatedly in and out. The large hands were red now. A spray of blood washed over the eye, but it could still see, and it watched over the street as the man from inside began his special work. Porch Pirate was written by Mike Mason and read by Paul Fricker. Find out more at eldritchstories.com. And join us again next time for another chilling tale. And remember, keep it eldritch.